Could you just share a little bit about what things were like when we first met or when we first started for
Yeah.
you?
Well, I was having a lot of pain, back, neck, shoulders, all of it, pain every day, all day, really. Well, before I came to you, I was going to an osteopath who was really great. She was really lovely, and I had some acupuncture and things like that. But I found, I couldn't maintain what she was improving for me. So I'd have to go back each week, and at the end of each week, I was getting the pain and all that back again. Um, and I just didn't know how to help ease that pain for myself until I met you.
But what are some of like your biggest takeaways, in terms of what you learned about your body, about how to manage your body over the time that we've worked together?
I mean, I've learned so much about my body. Before I came to you, you'd say things like, oh, can you move this part of your body? And I'd be like, no, I don't know how to do that. And now I do know how to do that. And I I didn't know, yeah, I didn't know how to improve things. And you taught me if this part of your body's hurting, it's not necessarily that part that is the issue. You need to go further back. Or maybe it is the issue and this is how you correct it. Um, so, like, if my lower back's hurting, it's not necessarily that. Generally, it's my hip flexors, sometimes
Hmm.
feet. And now I know how to improve all that. And if I've got pain, then I'll do some exercises, and then the pain will be gone, and I'll be able to maintain it, which is amazing because I was in pain so much before in my body, and now I'm not. Yeah, and I think often you forget what you were like before. So I don't always remember that I was in pain all the time with my back. I often now if I start to be in pain, I'm like, oh, this is horrible. What's happening? But before you, that was a constant. And I think it's quite easy to once you get a bit further down the road, you forget what it was like at the beginning. So it's nice to go back and see all the progress. Because often, right at the beginning, when I first started seeing you, when we started doing exercises, I'd be like, I'm not sure this is working. And then you'd say, well, hold on a minute. 3 weeks ago, you couldn't do that. I'd be like, oh, yeah, it is working. But you very, very quickly forget that that's not how you always were. So, yeah, it's definitely worth looking back, not just because it's a nice feeling, but it's motivating.
So one other thing. So in terms of your posture, how has that changed over the time that we've worked together?
I mean, I'm still working on my posture. I still catch myself sitting, all hunched over and think, right, no, that's just making everything worse again. And I catch myself standing in a unhelpful way.
What
But
do you mean by that? Do you mean weight on one leg, or what do you mean?
yeah, I often stand on one leg, and then my whole spine is out of alignment. I tend to stand with my back arched, and I'm really consciously working on making sure I don't do that. Um, but before all this, I wouldn't have. I knew that my posture was bad, but I didn't know how to correct it. But I also didn't have well, I was always flexible, but I didn't have the flexibility to stand like that without it hurting.
Mm.
And doing all these stretches and strengthening and things means that I can stand with my shoulders back and it doesn't hurt constantly. Whereas before, if I just even if I just did that, I'd straight away be in pain.
Wow.
And then, so then you're like this all the time, and you're just making it worse and worse and worse. I mean, I actually did the Alexander technique, and she would reposition me, and it would be, I think, a half an hour appointment, and I'd be in agony for the entire appointment. And come out, and it would trigger a migraine because everything was just so intense. But now I can actually stand up straight, stand in alignment, and feel good and feel, at ease. And I often, if I'm away, I'm doing my stretches, because if I don't, then, it all goes backwards a bit. So you need all those kind of skills to continue your progress, even when you're not at home, or you're not, seeing you like we're not at the moment. Yeah. And also, knowing my own body has helped like other people. So my dad will often say, oh, this part of my body's hurting, and I'm like, right, well, Natalie would tell you to do this. And it does help, so it's not just me that has learned from you, but it's other people that I know are learning from you too.
In the beginning, when we started to work like that, did it feel weird, or how did it feel? Because I guess that's not the conventional way of working.
Yeah.
Usually we go, okay, we're going to do the exercise, and you're going to do the same on the other side as you do to this side. So when I started working with you like that, what went through your head, and what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought, hold on a minute, this isn't what I've ever done before. Surely you need to do both sides, because otherwise you're not equal. But I very quickly learned, because you teach very well and you explain everything very well, that that's not always what you need, because especially for my upper body, I'm very unequal, and to even myself up, I need to work more on one side and less on the other. So yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to right at the beginning. But once you understand the logic behind it, it's like a light bulb. It's like, oh yeah, duh. Why have I always done exactly the same? But no one's ever explained it or thought about it enough, that actually you need to tailor it to each individual, not just hand them some exercises to go and do, and make things more unequal by not tailoring it. I couldn't do a lot of things, but a year later I was a lot stronger, and a year later still I'm a lot stronger. So you have to, it's not, there's always going to be something you can improve in your body. There's not the end, there's just progress constantly. So I'd say that's another big thing, that you're not necessarily going to, I don't know, you're not necessarily going to get to where you want to be at a certain time, but all the little things that you're doing before that will help you get to where you want to be. Yeah, and also just find someone that you connect with and that you find helpful, because I've seen a lot of people for my back and my scoliosis and that over the years, and while I've liked most of them and thought they were helpful, I never found the insight. People didn't explain why they were doing these things to my back. They didn't explain, if you do this, this is what it's going to help, and this is how you can do it at home. They just go and do these exercises. And I think you need the explanation of why you're doing it, because otherwise you're like, well, what's the point of doing that? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So you need the knowledge of your own body on top of everything else.